So welcome everyone to the Town of Richmond Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. We have 4 commissioners here today, so we have a quorum, myself, Ian, Mark, and Allison. And thank you, Aaron, for running the MMC TV. Very grateful. So we are going to start with checking the agenda to make sure that it is what we want and to see if there are any comments on non-agenda items. So, anybody have any changes they want to make to the agenda?
No.
Okay, not hearing any comments or seeing any hands, we'll continue with the agenda as posted. Next up is looking at the minutes of our September 3rd meeting. Any comments or additions, corrections, any changes you want to make to those minutes?
Nope.
Okay, not seeing any hands or hearing any comments, we will take those minutes into the record as written. Okay, our next agenda item is to nominate Dante DeNault as the acting zoning administrator. So we are so happy that we have a new staff member in the planning and zoning department. His name is Dante DeNault. I don't think he's here today. I don't see him on the screen right at the moment.
Nope.
But everybody will get a chance to meet him at some point. He's very nice and very personable and helpful, and apparently he's doing great, according to Keith, learning up what he needs to know, and so we'll get a little bit more of Keith's time. So what would be good is if somebody could make a motion to appoint him.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Mark is making a motion, and what is the motion?
Well, it's just off the top of my head, but I'm going to go. I move to recommend the appointment of Dante DeNault to the select board as the acting zoning administrator in the absence of the appointed zoning administrator as per 24 VSA section 4448. This motion to be forwarded to the select board for consideration at the first available meeting.
Great. Thank you. Nice, off the top of your head. Very good, Mark.
I just winged it.
Yep, just thought that right up. Would anyone like to second that motion?
I will second it. Allison will second it.
Okay, Allison is seconding the motion. All right. And does anyone have any questions about it? Like why he's the acting zoning administrator was a question I had, but I don't know.
Yeah, I would like to, I'd like to know more about that. I would.
Yeah, so currently I am the zoning administrator, and currently if I am not around, there's nobody that can do any zoning administrating.
I see. Okay.
So this provides us with a vehicle for when I'm not around for Dante to do some low-level zoning administrating at the direction of the town manager when I'm not around.
Okay.
And typically I would set that up with the town manager prior, and he would know about that. So this does give him also some lack of a better term, and I don't want to dumb it down, but it's kind of training wheels also. You know, it gives him the ability to make these decisions, to make mistakes, which is expected, but also to gain more and more knowledge about the job. So that's really it in a nutshell.
Okay.
And the reason that we are doing this is because we are asked to make the appointment before it goes to the select board statutorily. So
Yep, you did that with me when I first after Tyler left. So it's just a continuation of this.
Yep. All right. Any other comments or questions? Okay, let's have a vote. All those in favor of this nomination should raise your hand or say aye or both.
Aye, Allison.
Okay, Ian,
Aye.
Allison,
I, Mark.
Mark is an aye and I'm an aye. So that is a 4-0. Nothing. Yes. Approval. And Keith, you will forward this to the select board, yes?
Yes, I
He
shall.
has been nominated and approved. That's great. It's a good step forward. Okay, so moving on. So this time period of the next 2 months is the crucial period for the town plan. This is why we, especially myself and Ian, don't really have the bandwidth to do anything else. And Keith also is involved in the planning line. We have to, if we're going to vote on it at town meeting, which we would like to do, we need to finish all the writing and the assembling of this document so that we can have an initial public draft by the middle of October, and then the presentation to the select board and the public, which will take place on November the 4th. So that's why we're really not doing anything else in the planning line. We just need to focus on this right now. And what I wanted to focus on today was a discussion about a question that has come up in several of the town plan sections and in other places in the housing committee as to what people mean when they say they want to streamline the zoning ordinance. This is a popular perception that all of our problems will be solved if we just streamline the zoning ordinance. Unfortunately, what everybody means by streamlining is different. Everybody means something else, something different. We don't know always what people mean by streamlining. Sometimes they just say that because they think it is going to just fix things. So Keith and I sat down to work out exactly what we could say that would be a meaningful thing to say about our relationship to the zoning ordinance and how we can improve it, rather than just saying, let's streamline it, which might make it, you know, people might mean make it more simple, people might mean make it more complex, people might mean make it easier for applicants. So anyway, we thought we could develop some actual issues with the zoning and put them in our action plans for these different sections. So I thought that we could look at one of the places that it came up. There, I have two that I brought today for us to look at. The first is the economic development section, which was written by Andrew Powers. And one of the items that he has at the end of his section, and we can look more at the whole section if you want, but is a goal 3 that says continue to update zoning regulations to allow mixed-use development, commercial zones, and business supportive land uses while protecting working lands. Well, that's kind of okay. It's kind of vague. But you get down to number 2, and it says streamline development review processes to encourage business development in appropriate locations. So what does he mean, streamline development review processes? One place this rhetoric appeared was in the housing study, and the author of that study did some focus groups with developers who had extremely anecdotal incidents about what they had encountered at the DRB, and conclusions were drawn from that, that something needed to happen to it. It needed to be streamlined somehow. And also you hear that out on the street, you know, oh, let's streamline the development review processes and then things will go better. So, does anyone have any comments so far about that? a second place that this terminology occurred is in the community development section, which was written by Jason Osterman, one of our other steering committee members. And he has suggested that we rewrite zoning forms and streamline resident interactions with town government. So that's kind of a different take. That's in community development. That's a different slightly, this is why the word streamline is kind of a problem, because we don't really know what it means to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So Keith and I put together a kind of a list of things that over the years we have perceived as being difficult about the process. So we could actually put something meaningful about how we could make it better. So hopefully, Keith, you have that.
You're seeing everything on my screen here.
Yeah, you got a lot of blue sky.
Let me get my stuff together here. I thought I had put it in here, but I don't see it. You're talking about that document that you sent me just before the meeting.
Yeah, just
That would be
before the
one.
meeting, or if you want, you can use the strategic housing plan list, but
I got this one right here. Can
I
you
put,
see this?
yes. Yeah, that's great. You might have to make it a little bigger.
I need to do it for myself too.
Yes.
Uh,
So from you all, we're kind of looking for comments about what you think about some of these. You might not have any feelings about them, but I'm hoping that they seem to you to be an actionable item that is meaning the same to everybody. So the first one has to do with the DRB and the fact that somehow people perceive that it is not functioning well. And here are the items that we thought could be improved as an action item to strengthen the DRB's rules and procedures, which is where they lay out how it is they're going to review things, the things that have to be reviewed by the DRB. Performing site visits and reviewing the site plan portion of an application. So I don't know, Keith, if you want to mention what things go wrong here or what.
Yeah, I mean, in the DRB rules and procedures, which for full disclosure, we have no control over. This is something that the DRB is allowed to promulgate according to statute. And they do have language in their rules and procedures on site visits if they feel it's necessary. I have not seen very many site visits by the DRB in the 4 or 5 years that I've been here. So that's something I've talked to Dave about it, and but not in great detail. David Sunshine. So that's one area of concern, because you can't get a complete picture of a project without actually visiting the site. It's just standard procedure that you would typically do, and you do it on your own, or you would sign one individual who at least would make that site visit. And we used to do that, but they've come off of that. So that's one thing that should be strengthened in their rules and procedures. And reviewing the site plan itself, it's actually, don't get to the meeting and crack open your packet. You need, because it takes a while to do a site plan review. We provide the notes. They rely a lot on the staff notes, but they also ignore the staff notes quite a bit too, which leads to not very good decisions at times. I won't get into any specifics of that, but that's really what that 1A is talking about there.
And so that item is going to help both the town to make good decisions based on known information, and it's also going to help the applicant because the DRB will know about the situation. If they've made a visit, they will be able to ask the questions. They won't have to have the applicant come back some other time after they've then decided they had to make a site visit. So that helps both the town and the applicant. The second one is staying current on new state statutes. As you all know, we've had a lot of new state statutes that
Yes.
directly impact
Mhm.
municipalities.
Yeah.
And so the DRB is actually required to make decisions, even if they haven't been put into our zoning ordinance,
Right.
is required to make decisions based on the state statutes. So
Yeah.
Act 47, long before it was in our zoning, the zoning administrator had to make decisions on that basis. So we want them to stay current. Ian?
Sorry, just going back to point A.
Yeah.
Oh, Aaron's saying something to Keith there. Okay. Is the applicant entitled to a site plan visit?
Entitled, no.
Okay,
It's totally at the discretion of the DRB based on their procedures.
right. And that's just like a statute thing?
Yeah, because they can promulgate their own procedures.
Okay.
But they are required to make a site plan, right?
Well,
On
the
paper.
applicant- The applicant is.
The
yes.
applicant is, it's not that they're allowed to, but they're required to make a site
Yeah.
plan.
Well, I was
And
just
then-
wondering more, it would seem to be in the applicant's benefit for the DRB to be required to visit the site so that they're more informed before the hearing.
I'm gonna try to get this, there you go.
Yeah, well, that would be
But-
something that we would like to encourage the DRB to put in their rules and procedures.
Yep.
That a site visit will be done.
Yep.
Or,
Period.
however they want to put it in, but to put that in their rules and procedures and then to do it, then to follow their rules and procedures.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I agree with that. I had no idea that there was no site visit required.
It's
I
not
guess
required.
that's, yeah, I think, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
good.
It should be perfunctory, especially with larger and complex projects, subdivisions specifically.
Mhm.
You know, I mean,
Absolutely.
if it's some of
Yeah.
the smaller ones, I get it, but it just seems to be a pattern I'd like to see changed.
mhm.
I agree. Good.
Mark,
Yeah, I was just wondering if the zoning administrator makes a site plan visit to every one of these items that come up before the DRB.
They do now.
Huh.
Okay.
And I mean, is that under the purview of the DRB or is that under the purview of zoning that we recommend the zoning administrator to do a site?
Yeah, I would direct the zoning administrator to do that as part of his function. It certainly is part of his function. Tyler did do it a little bit more after I got there and a lot more towards the end of his tenure. Because he understood the need for that. But now it's an interoffice policy. That's not something that we need to promulgate. That's something that I manage. And it is a requirement now, based on the complexity of the application.
and
Yeah.
it's not saying that for every administrative decision, a site plan review has to happen, right, Keith?
Right,
It's
right,
just
correct. Just the
anything that
DRB.
is going to go before the DRB.
It's hard to do. It's hard to do and author proper staff notes without a site visit. It's amazing the amount of information you glean from an actual visit on site. It just is. You can't see it on a two-dimensional piece of paper.
Mhm.
Right.
Great. Okay, so the third bullet under the DRB rules and procedures being strengthened is to just continue to improve communication with the Planning Commission and the staff on newly adopted zoning regulations. So for instance,
Mhm.
when we pass a new piece of the ordinance or revise the regulations, perhaps they should have in their rules and procedures that, the planning staff is going to come and discuss it with them, or, however you want to promulgate this rule, just to make sure that we don't have a situation where we've just passed a new piece of the ordinance, and they're not even, they haven't read it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and you know, in the past, every time that we do an amendment, a revision to the zoning recommend to the RZR, which is all we've done. We haven't done anything with the subdivision regs. But I have forwarded that for comment, and I solicit comment, and I just don't ever get any response. And they don't check their emails, and that, okay, that's fine. This board's accused of that, can be accused of that too. I mean, but that's fine. But you're not doing site plan review.
We can't really dictate that out of the town plan. I mean, we're throwing out these suggestions or whatever.
It would
But
be a
the planning
recommendation.
commission doesn't really have any authority in any way. I think this is good. We can add this and certainly encourage it, but
Yeah.
I know I guess we don't have to spin a lot of wheels spinning our wheels on this
No.
because we can't really dictate.
Non-binding.
yeah, well, it's like many of the action items in the town plan.
Absolutely.
You know, they're not under our purview. You know, the
So I like
recommendations to,
having it in here.
pardon me?
I like having that in here. And,
Yeah, I think it's a good goal, and we'll put it to the DRB that we, you know, if it's approved by the town, it's an action item that the town would like them to take. DRB, fix your rules and procedures. So, and of course, like many of the other action items, they may or may not do it, or they may be in the middle of doing it, or, you know, whatever, but it's a good place to go. And then the fourth one was, when reviewing conditional use applications, let's consider, and we started this a little bit with Revy in our regulations, allowing more administrative approvals for some conditional uses. When we did the RC districts, we allowed for a few more things to be exempt from site plan and DRB because they could be administratively approved. So we would like them to consider some of these additional zoning administrator approval situations. And, you know, that can be in the purview of the planning commission to a certain extent, because in our zoning regulation, we have, you know, like exemptions for a single family home, administrative approval. We could put in different districts, lots of different things exempt from DRB review.
So
So,
you'd have to go down the list to figure that out, you know,
Yeah.
obviously.
and for each
reasons.
district, it would be different, you know, like in a commercial district, maybe you don't want a professional office to have a DRB. Maybe that's fine for it to be administratively approved. That would certainly speed things up and cost less for applicants and help both in housing and in business. So that's kind of one for us.
But you are at the behest of the competency of the current zoning administrator also in that regard. So that's just a fact.
Yep. So that's the trade-off, you know, that's the trade-off. And I think that's where we've stuck with most things having to go to the DRB, which is a board of our citizens reviewing these things, rather than some guy off the street, you know. Sorry, Keith.
But I mean, honestly, past practices, it has been some guy or gal just off the street with no competency. And it's mind-boggling in Vermont that I've had this conversation with Virginia often, that the level of competency that they allow to interpret zoning law blows me away. You pay them $15 an hour for 10 hours a week and you offer them nothing. And you wonder why they leave every 6 months. The turnover is ridiculous. I think we here have solved that. At least I hope we have.
With the structure of our setup. But you don't really need a lot of qualifications to get into this job. Luckily, Dante, our newly nominated, he has good qualifications, but
Took
You
3
know,
months to
it's-
find them.
right?
So,
Okay, so anybody have anything else to say about that? That's about the DRB's rules of procedures. We would like to see them strengthened.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. So we go on to number 2, continue to review the town's planning and zoning webpage to make it more user-friendly and clear. So, and Keith does this already to a certain extent, but we looked at it and there were a couple of things that I went in as a member of the public who knew nothing about zoning and, you know, kind of thought, well, I wouldn't understand exactly what that meant, or so just continuing to think about at least the web page to help cut out some steps for people. So they don't have to come in right away, but they can read the web page and get a lot of information from that. So anybody have any thoughts about that one? User-friendly helps the applicant, it helps the staff because they don't have so many questions because it's on the website. So.
yeah, I mean, I thoroughly agree with number 2, and we do practice that to the best of our ability, but we're not going to be able to capture every single scenario, and we've discussed that because the website would be 40 pages long if that was the case. But the salient points, and the one that I always come to is in the zoning permit application, if you're building a house, there's nothing that says you need floor plans or house elevations. Well, that's an internal policy that is not necessarily clear. It's something that we communicate to the applicant at that time. And to put that on the website, definitely. To put that on the actual permit applications, definitely. I mean, those are updates we can do. That's low hanging stuff like that. So
that's like, you do need elevations and you do need floor plans, and that's something that they could be working on at home before they even ever come in. So,
right.
all right, so that's number 2. Any comments about that? All right, 3 is to revise the subdivision regulations, and someday we, the Planning Commission, need to take up the subdivision regulations. We have a couple of reasons now to do it. One is in terms of the PUD situation and the
Master development plan.
the master development plan question, which has only been partially resolved on the subdivision, in the zoning regs, but not in the subdivision regs. So here's another reason that we should do it, is because having a major and minor subdivision allows you to do simple subdivisions much more quickly. I don't know, Keith, if you want to talk about that.
Yep. Yeah. Typically, in my experience and all the zoning regulations in the past that I've administered have this major and minor. Even Huntington, the town of Huntington has a major and minor.
Really?
And it's usually 3 lots or less is a minor and 4 or more is a major. And the major just kicks it to the DRB and you follow the rules. And the minor would be an administrative subdivision, which doesn't absolve the applicant from the amount of materials they have to submit, but they don't have to go through the 3-phase process of sketch, preliminary, and final. They come to me, they come to Dante, we vet it, we make sure everything is per the regulations, and we approve it. That's really what it comes down to. It can be as quick as you know, a month or 45 days to turn around a 3-lot subdivision if we had those rules promulgated. So that's it. So those easy subdivisions. Right now, the regulations read for an administrative subdivision, the lot must be 25 acres or larger in order to subdivide it. And you can only subdivide it into one other lot in a 7-year period. It doesn't mean you can't subdivide other, but you would have to go to the DRB to do that. But to do that administrative subdivision, the lot has to be 25 acres. That to me doesn't make a lot of sense. What if you have in the AR a 2-acre lot that's flat and it's 1 acre zoning? That should be an easy subdivision to do. And that's just a you know, off the cuff example. So that this is a very common tool in subdivision administration. We don't have that.
Any questions about that or comments about that one?
I think it's a good idea.
Just to
Okay.
be clear,
Great.
that's on us to change.
Yeah.
Mhm.
right?
Right.
That's,
Yep.
Right, because we are in charge of the subdivision regs and we do need to look at them. They have not been updated for a long time.
So
And we really need to,
just town plan talking points. I mean, like, these all look like reasonable goals in that respect. I'm not sure if how long we need to drill down on each one of them when we look at these and go, yeah, those aren't unreasonable.
Mhm.
Let's go with them.
So these
Okay.
are- So
And
these
then
are,
we can work on actually spend the time on the discussion of the details when we actually come to.
right. So the frame, to frame why we're talking about them in a little bit of detail is the fact that we come across this streamlining phrase. And that's what we're talking about here these are offers for how to streamline. And I look at it as clarifying, and streamlining too is the same thing, sort of.
Actually, I like to think of them as synergistic streamlining.
Oh, that's a
If we could
25
add that
word.
to this document.
That would confuse people even more and they would have different ideas about what that meant. But anyway, we would like to, use this in the
Word.
town plan work when our steering committee members are putting together these sections and they want to say streamline. Here are some other things that you could put down. Let's put these in various locations and then we will have them in the plan and we can go to work on them.
Wait a second. You mean you want to take these subparts and put those into different sections of the same town plan?
Well,
I think this is kind of like, okay, these are streamlining zoning changes. That makes sense. Honestly, I think streamlining is a great idea, but do we want to reiterate the details of each streamlining step? I mean, I think we're doing that for zoning regulations right now with Keith's feedback, and if we got DRB feedback, they could provide us some streamlining techniques to streamline things. But I think leaving town plan as just streamlining is function.
no, the problem is, Mark, that everybody has a different idea. When you talk to the people who say streamline it, they all have completely different ideas about what that means. And if you put it in just as streamline in the town plan, I can guarantee you that this planning staff eyes are going to glaze over and not know what people are trying to express. So that's why we're trying to identify specific steps that can be taken that are what we understand as streamlining, and everybody understands what these are because they're very specific things. So it doesn't leave it open to this like, oh, streamline, nah, whatever,
I come across as liberalizing the process too, which would be unappealing to people. Making it too lax.
True. Yeah, you gotta strike that balance.
Yeah.
What do you think of it as making
Like
it
when
too
you use the
lax?
word streamline, to some people,
Oh.
they hear that and they're like, oh my gosh, all the regulations are going away. People are gonna be able to do whatever they want.
Yeah, that's what some people think, and other people think, well, you streamline it, you make it easier for applicants to get their projects approved in a quicker time frame. I mean, that's both things, depending on where you're coming from with the project, both things might go through people's minds. So this is just like, let's make it simple and clear. We want these steps. These are going to result, if you want to think about streamlining, in a better set of
Will
rules.
this go into like an appendix or something? Or
Well, we're going to have to talk about that, Ian, a little bit at the steering committee level. How do we want to do this? Do we want to put these all in one section, somehow in one special place? Let's say we put them all in community development, where there's a section about making government more efficient. Maybe that's the place where we put this list of, this is a way that we can make the planning and zoning part of government more efficient and more effective for people, better for the town, better for the applicants. So we will take it up at our meeting next week. Exactly how to deploy this.
Okay, I think we're on the same page, because this list looks like a good list. We put it in one place and under the classification of streamlining. And then every individual subgroup of the town plan, housing, streamlining, zoning regulations, historic preservation, protection, streamlining, zoning regulation, whatever it happens to be. That's fine.
Yeah,
I'm-
well, my idea is that we just take it out of all of those other sections. We just take the word streamline the zoning ordinance as not a goal in any of the other sections, because it's in community development. They're all in there, so they will apply to all, that's how
Right.
we're building this community of Richmond, is we're streamlining the regulations with these steps. So you don't have to mention it at all in any of the other sections.
I see what you're saying, and
So-
that makes sense. But or you could just leave it in and say as summarized in the economic development.
Or the community development. Yeah, you could just say, see community development section
blurb.
if you wanted to do that.
Because a housing section, they're going to look at the housing section, and everybody's going to complain that there's no goal of streamlining.
Yeah, so,
I
and
mean, so oh well, we have to put that in. Instead, we just leave it in there. Reference one section that actually has this breakdown of your line items, which are excellent, and
Yeah.
we're done.
yeah, and instead, we might not want to say streamline, we might want to say improve or something like that. And then say refer to community development, efficient government goal. So, anyway. Okay, so anybody want to talk about any of these others? Number 4, infill development. We want standards for that allow for administrative approval. That will make it quicker for people and easier for the town. Incorporate the internal planning policies, and that's like something that Keith mentioned about not having it mentioned anywhere that you need elevations and so forth in an application. That's an internal policy, but people don't know about that up front. So this is like trying to put all those things in right away. Then the list of state permits. So there's this question about when you need the state permits. So we want to at least have somewhere a list of state permits, and then the administrator is going to say, well, you need a wetlands, you need the wastewater permit, and you need the wastewater permit before you begin construction, you need this other permit at this time of certificate of occupancy, whatever, all of those things. So people know up front. I don't want people to not understand that even though you don't need a permit to begin construction, you're going to need one if you want to get a certificate of occupancy and you've already done the building. And what if you don't get the permit, just so that people understand that.
Now for clarity, we do tell them what they need when we issue the zoning permit in our cover letter to the applicants. When we send it out in the mail, we'll drop it off at their house or whatever it is. But it's not clear on the website. It's not clear on the applications. There is statutorily, we are to inform applicants that they are required to look into what state permits they need. I have no authority to direct them to do that. It's a service that we provide, again, as an internal policy, but it's not promulgated. And I'm not the administrator of these permits, so I have no authority on that. But I can tell them generally what they need to do, and we are required to point them to the permit portal at A&R, and they're supposed to do all that work, and that is on the applications, and it is on the website too. But it's not clear. It should probably be up front. It should probably be in a certain place. It needs to be strategic. So I mean, that needs to be looked at. So, but this is a tough one because there's no communication between the municipalities and the state. I mean, there's literally zero communication. They don't reciprocate by saying, okay, once their permit is done, you need to get the local permits. They don't tell you that, but we do. Not all towns do that. So it's quite the disconnect. But I have no problem, at least informing applicants, and we do this, that they need certain state permits before we will release a zoning permit. Specifically, a wastewater permit doesn't necessarily need to be completed and approved, but it needs to be in the system. And that's what our internal policy is. It has not been promulgated. It's what I basically decree, for lack of a better word. We do have the ability in the zoning regulations under the permitting requirements that states that any other documents that the zoning administrator requires must be submitted. So that's a pretty general issue there. So.
Yeah, and so, we could decide that you have to have the permits, all the permits before construction, I suppose. Could we, Keith?
I mean,
Maybe.
we could, but I think the key is to inform them that they are required to have these in process
Right.
before, and they need to be completed and signed off before you get a CO. And we state that in our letters. We do, but it's not clear on the website. I mean, I would agree with that.
Okay. All right, and then number 7, the new laws, this is just advising that you can't use the character of the neighborhood to try to halt or appeal affordable housing projects. I don't know how we would do that. We would educate town residents, but I think it's a good thing in general that we try to let people understand that the character of the neighborhood is not applicable to affordable housing permits now. So anyway, and is there a number 8 on there, Keith? I think I added that after I sent this to you. There's not number 8. Oh, there is a number 8. Okay.
Look at that.
Yeah. So, how we recommended that the town did not subscribe to Tier 1B. Well, it was passed. Tier 1B was subscribed to by the town. So one thing for us to do is to ensure that our zoning regulations have adequate development standards for DRB review of applicable projects in the Tier 1B overlay district. Because the reason we didn't want to do it was because we weren't sure that we had the personnel and the proper procedures and so forth to do whatever Act 250 oversight would replace Act 250's oversight. So I think we, ought to, one of the things that we should be doing as a planning commission is making sure that we have whatever regulations we feel are necessary. Mark?
I thought we weren't going to get into Tier 1B because of the overhead requirements put on the zoning administrator and the town planning office.
Well, the select board elected.
The select board wants it.
They have it. They approved it. It's done.
It's done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We are a T1B town.
Yes.
Good luck with that, Keith.
Thanks.
You're gonna have to learn a whole lot and spend a whole lot of time and money on. I didn't know that the select board had already designated that. Was that just to facilitate Jolena Court?
I think it's townwide. I think they were looking at it townwide. CCRCP was pushing real hard on it also.
Yeah, but Tier 1B is only limited to the village.
Yeah, 50, right, the village, and for 50 units on 10 acres or less. That's what it is. It's just that one issue.
The select board had a lot of people come to the meeting about Tier 1B who felt it was a good thing for housing. The housing committee was strongly for it.
They were strongly for it, yeah.
CCRP, Charlie Baker was pushing for it. And
And-
many people came and testified that we need more housing, and so this is a way to enable it, perhaps.
You'll have to forgive me. I haven't been keeping up with select board meetings. But my understanding of the Tier 1B was that it would replace Act 250, right? Am I wrong? Am I mixing
No.
that up?
It's just a portion of Act 250. It's at 50 units or less on 10 acres or less. That's
In the
what tier-
water and sewer area.
In the water and sewer district, correct.
They
Yeah.
are exempt from having an Act 250 review.
Right.
They
This-
only need municipal permits. They do not need an Act 250 permit. If they have, let's say, 45 units and they're in the water and sewer district, So
right?
we just want to make sure that our standards are adequate for dealing with that in our ordinance.
Yeah, I guess so. All right. Uh,
Can't do anything about it.
they'd pushed that through. That was unfortunate, and I apologize to staff and the zoning.
It's fine. I honestly don't have an issue with it. What I would have an issue is after I retire, do you have competent people in place? But that's assuming I'm competent.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I mean, that's what you gotta look forward. You gotta look forward. That's what a planning commission does. You're looking forward.
It certainly opens up a door to some scary potential development, but hey, I don't live in the village, so I don't know how many of the select board members live in the village, but if they're on board with doing whatever, then more power to them. I didn't, the other
Jolena Court has already utilized it for their additional residences in building 1 on the ground floor. They have applied for a jurisdictional opinion from the Act 250 board, and the Act 250 board says you are a tier 1B project.
do whatever.
You do not need Act 250 oversight.
Yeah. All right. Well,
So-
good for the Jolena Court owners.
How many units end up being in there? Oh, sorry, Mark.
No, that's fine. Go ahead, Ian.
How many units they end up with in that building? Do you remember?
They'll be able to get 7 units in that building 1 on the first floor and potentially on the second or on the lower floor. They're having issues with ingress and egress windows on the lower floors, is my understanding. But it's going to be a minimum of 5 new ones on the one. Now, keep in mind that the portion that's fronting Bridge Street still stays commercial. That's 900 square feet of commercial space fronting Bridge Street. So, I mean, we got that going for us. So, I mean, that's a pretty easy one there. It's building 2 that's going to be the one that's going to be an issue. Not an issue, but I mean, it's going to need some oversight for
But-
sure.
Good
One
luck.
thing that we should be paying attention to is how it works for building 1. What is it that we find that they've done that hasn't been mentioned in our regulations and wasn't under the jurisdiction of Act 250, so nobody said anything about it. So we ought to be paying, as a planning commission, paying attention to that so that we know what we're missing in our ordinance.
And it's not relegated to Jolena Court. It's to the whole water and sewer district. So
Right. So we should be paying attention and seeing how it's working for them and how it's not working for us or is working for us.
So the other thing what really got into me before you really drilled down on 8 was 7. If I could
Yeah.
just step back a moment to so what we're saying is that character of the neighborhood may not be used to appeal affordable housing projects. So character of the neighborhood is applicable to any other project. Industrial, commercial, mixed use, but not
specific.
affordable housing projects. And are those affordable housing projects defined affordable housing like Champlain Trust? Or is it just anybody who says, oh, I'm creating affordable housing because it's cheaper than market rate?
Well, I think, and I'm not positive about this, I'll have to go back and read it in the statute. So the affordable housing not being able to be appealed on that ground was specifically put in there for affordable housing.
Right.
That's why it doesn't apply to anything else, because it was another one of the attempts by the legislature to enable more affordable housing, because the neighbors always complain about affordable housing. So they just said, you can't use this about affordable housing. I think it's for affordable housing developments as defined in statute of what an affordable housing development is, and which we now have in our zoning, the definition of an affordable housing development. But we might check that, Keith, again, just to make sure that we have it exactly right.
Yeah, okay. So that's all I ask is
Yeah.
if we go back and make sure that it is state sanctioned, clearly defined affordable housing with,
Yeah, well, it has to have 20% or
20% or
5
5,
units, all those things that are in the definition of affordable housing. It can be
80%,
mixed, it
yep.
can be strictly residential, but at least 20% of the units are affordable with a minimum of 5.
with a defined oversight from who? The state?
Yeah, there's a chart that you need to follow as far as what your income is, and what you can charge for a particular unit in the. We're in the Burlington district, so it's a little higher.
Yeah.
my
And
understanding.
in our zoning, there's nothing that says what the standards are, except for our multifamily housing standards, which are standards that we have put into our ordinance
Mhm.
to protect the neighbors to a
Right.
certain extent
Quality of
from
life.
the negative qualities of large multifamily units. So at least we have that. Nobody else oversees affordable housing in particular, except, if it's a developer like Champlain Housing, they're going to be an entity that is overseeing it and trying to make it good and, a nice place to live and all that kind of stuff. But
And they're registered as an affordable housing organization. I'm just trying to make sure that somebody who just says, "Oh, I'm putting in affordable housing, I'm going to give 20%, below market rate for a certain amount of time to get it in there," and then nobody's paying attention to it, and they pack in all this housing that ends up falling off of the affordable housing classification.
well, no one is specifically overlooking it, like Jolena Court. Jolena Court is not an affordable, they're not putting in affordable housing. But let's say, for some reason, they elected to, which people don't, it's very expensive to do affordable housing. People generally, developers don't want to do any affordable housing, but, the only people who do it are the affordable housing developers for the most part. And they just have their own rules that they play by. And then there's the town rules. So in Richmond, any multifamily building with 3 or more units, you have to follow our multifamily housing standards,
Right.
which do have some protections for the neighborhood.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we did promulgate that we can permit administratively 3 to 4 dwelling unit structures, but they have to follow that multifamily housing standards. So
And that's great. I'm just, am I on the wrong beat here? Is anybody seeing where I'm coming from, or am I just reading this wrong?
Well, I just don't think that most developers of any kind want to put up affordable housing. They just don't want to. It's too expensive. It's, they're not going to just willy-nilly elect to put up some affordable housing. People don't want to put up affordable housing. They have to sort of be made to put up affordable housing. That's why all these carrots are being offered to them.
And the developers are niche developers for affordable housing. I mean, they know understand how to get around not get around, but to administer the HUD rules and the state rules and everything. But they're not making a lot of money on this.
Oh, no. And those are the people we want to have an exemption to character of the neighborhood.
Yes.
Want to make sure that definition of affordable housing clearly reflects a regulated agency that only has certain capabilities.
Well, it's not going to reflect a regulated agency. It's going to reflect a certain kind of development that is not going to be allowed to be questioned by appeal to the character of the neighborhood.
Right. That's what that comes down to. Yep.
So that's it. And then it's our standards, whatever we put in for standards.
Mhm.
So,
The affordable housing folks are registered with the state and they maintain that affordable housing in perpetuity.
yeah, I don't know if the state has standards about it. Does the state have standards about affordable housing? I don't really know. They have regulations about like who qualifies, how much you can charge, the financial piece of it. I don't know that they say, for instance, like in our municipal regulations about multifamily housing, that you have to have outdoor you have to have storage outside for bicycles and things. Outdoor storage. They don't have those. I don't think that the state says that.
Right.
The Champlain housing is defined as affordable housing. It's been affordable housing for 20 years plus since it was built. And it's not going to change because it's classified as a very defined type of development. And I just want to make sure that this reference clearly identifies it as a very defined.
Yeah, well, we'll just make sure of that, Mark, that it just refers to affordable housing developments as defined by the state.
And HUD, et cetera. Okay, yeah, all right, cool. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah,
change it.
great. So anyway, so that's the plan, and I'm hoping that the Planning Commission is good with this. We're going to talk about it a little bit at the steering committee and find a niche to put these things in. These are things that when people suggest that we're not doing anything about the zoning regulations, we can say, and the, all the DRB and the subdivision regs, that these are specific things that we can have as goals to do to improve the process for everybody. So, all right, so that's that. Does anyone want to look at any more depth into the economic development section? Some of it, like many of our town plan steering committee sections that are being worked up, has some of the language from the old, some of the language from the new, that is newly added, updated facts. We're not going to call them technical plans anymore because that's confusing. They're not that technical necessarily.
Let's look at economic development.
What about economic development? Do you want to look at it?
Yeah, I think it's good since we're here, unless people wanted to get out early.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Just to have some other eyes on it.
Sure.
Okay.
Do you want to read, if you scroll up slowly, Keith, we can read up. We're kind of been taking out the vision connection and thinking of putting just one vision connection per section. So in the introduction, there are 11 vision connections, and we're thinking of putting one vision connection for each segment instead of that box that pretty much says the same thing for all of them. So anyway, that's just one thing. So we're aiming for a couple of pages of narrative, 3 or 4 goals with a number of action items. Yep, keep scrolling along here. We have some subheadings. Each section has kind of its own set of subheadings to help people to divide up the text a little bit, read it better. It's basic, but it's, it's rich and interesting enough to give people a snapshot, an idea of what it's like now, the situation, and to set the stage for why we're thinking about the goals that we're thinking about. Most of the goal titles come from the old plan. Here's another place where we need to fix this, where it says action, improve the business permitting process by streamlining requirements. And here's another thing, the business permitting process is not necessarily that different from the residential permitting process. I mean, there's the conditional use question, but this would be something that we would take out, or we could just say, improve the zoning process, refer to section wherever we put it, community development, efficient and effective government for information about this. Number two, we did at one time have an economic development committee, and we also had the Western Slopes Business Association, neither of which are extant at the moment, but it's always a good goal to have, I think, to have someone who's advocating for the business community. It's hard to maintain over time, apparently, but we're putting it in there as a goal. Just yell out if you have anything to say about any of these. Purchase locally is something we've had in the old plan, and
Yeah.
you know, it's a good idea. Goal number two kind of relates to the fact that most of our businesses are going to be either services or ag and forestry. You know, we don't really have room in Richmond for big industrial developments, so we might as well try to strengthen the ag and forestry, especially if we want to maintain rural character.
Mhm.
What?
Okay, and this one we're gonna, you know, do something different with based on these points that we've discussed in great detail.
There's that flipping word again.
Yep, we're gonna get rid of that wherever we see it.
That could be one of the goals, eradicate streamlining.
From your vocabulary, remove it from your vocabulary.
Yeah,
What is?
yeah.
Okay, so if there's no, are there any other questions? I mean, we're doing pretty well, I think, in terms of our sections. We have them mostly, at least in almost their drafts. Have a few other things to add in. What I would like to do relative to the town plan is to actually cancel the next planning commission meeting, which is on October 1st, and replace it with a steering committee meeting. Ian, I don't know if you, well, you would be at the planning commission, so you ought to be able to go anyway.
Yeah, my Wednesday nights are forsaken.
Yes, so what we have right now is we have pretty much the 11 sections that are mostly done, and we just need to make a kind of a final version of them, and I think it's going to take us more than our next meeting on the 24th next week. I would like to have also the October 1st meeting, which is the following week, to finish the reviewing of those drafts. Then we would meet in the middle of October for October 15th. And at that point in time, the Planning Commission will be able to review, hopefully, the whole document. That is the initial document that we are going to put out for presentation on the 4th of November. So hopefully nobody minds that we're not going to have a planning commission. You are welcome to come to the steering committee meeting if you want on the 1st of October. It'll be a hybrid meeting. We like to meet in person, but there's a Zoom option also. It's up to you. We're just going to be whipping through these sections and doing editorial work. The steering committee has been working very hard and overtime to update the data and to talk to the people who need to be talked to and to do the writing work. So we just need a little bit of another meeting to finish that up. So
if we made it, would it be possible to make it a combined meeting? I'm just thinking streamlining, not to use the term, but
well, there's nothing else that I want to,
so that if the planning commission's all up to speed on you guys, then we can help push this through a little quicker if we're attending your town plan meeting. And I don't know if there'd be even any voting, whether we could vote independently as a town plan as a planning commission for approval or things as they come up, or?
Well, what I would like to do is to vote the planning commission's approval on the 15th of October, when we have the whole draft together and we've, gone, people have been editing, cross-editing different sections. So if you want to come and listen in, that's fine to the steering committee's work. There'll be a lot of steering committee work going on. And then hopefully we will be able to get that into a pretty final packet by the middle of October. And that meeting for the planning commission, I am hoping, will be the document that we're going to, with not too many more changes to make before our presentation. Around that time, the 15th of October, we're going to send out, Keith is going to send out a postcard inviting people to come to the November 4th Select Board public meeting at the library, which we'll talk about in a minute. And also we will be able to post the initial draft of the document to the website so that people can go and look at it and have a while. It will also be in the hands of CCRPC, who will be looking at it at the same time. And they will, submit their comments.
So there'll be pretty much a completed draft for the select board meeting on the 4th.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the whole.
And we can all attend that
Yes.
operation of feedback that might come out of that and
Yeah.
any changes we need to make on the 15th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that November meeting with the select board is also doubled as continued outreach to the community. So
I guess where I'm going is you strongly recommend that the planning commission attends the October 4th meeting in lieu of the 1st.
The October 15th meeting.
The October 15th, but you're having a select board meeting on
November 4th. Yeah,
November
you
4th.
could come to the November 4th meeting. That would be fine.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. And so then we will have 1 month between the November 4th meeting and the December 6th meeting, when the select board will have to approve this document for voting if we are going to vote on it in March. That is pretty much the deadline is December, that it will have to be approved by the select board. So we will take the information that we receive from the planning commission, and as we get these almost there segments, if the planning commissioners would like to read them, like we've got a bunch that you could send out and you could read them ahead of time. If you would read them ahead of time, that would be great. That would save a lot of time.
Yeah.
So we will have the planning commission feedback, CCRPC feedback, select board feedback, and the public feedback to take into consideration between the November 4th meeting and the December 6th or whatever meeting, where they will just approve it at one of their regular meetings. That's the plan for the moment.
Yeah, a lot of moon and
For
the
the
moon and the stars certainly have to align for this, though, and that's what we're really pushing for.
Yeah, so
what I was worried about as far as skipping our October 1st meeting, but
we need that. The steering committee needs it to finish the work.
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I get that.
So, yeah,
Make all of our decisions on all of the sections basically on the 15th and approve to send it to the select board where
Right.
they have a public outreach on the 4th, but they can't vote for it, right? Don't they have to have like 3 weeks of?
no, they will not vote for it on November 4th. They will not vote. This is a public hearing where it's a select board's public hearing on our document. And then in a month, in December, they will vote on it. Because we need that month for them to give us feedback, and for the public that it has been presented to give feedback. And also CCRPC might not be done with their feedback.
Yeah, that's a stretch. Yeah.
So we get the feedback on November 4th. Will it have to come back to us before before we send it for their December vote?
I don't think so. I think, you know, I mean, I'm hoping, especially if I send out the segments, like on the 24th, and even before then, we have ones that are almost there, that are almost done. We'll just send them out and say there might be a few other changes, like this economic development one. It's really all done, except we're going to take out those streamlining things, you know. So, but you could be reading the narrative, you could be looking at the other goals. We've got a bunch of other ones that just need something or other. The historic one is done by the historic resources people. Housing has been done by the housing committee with our input as well. You know, those are ready for you all to be looking at and see if you have any concerns.
Yeah.
They're pretty well reviewed at the steering committee level, I have to say.
And I'm sure
Those steering committee members are engaged, and they're really working with these documents and working to make it a unified and
if you and Ian are solid with them as they come out of the steering committee,
yeah.
shouldn't really leave much with.
It's Virginia.
We all know that, Ian. We do.
Okay, but thanks. I was
Yeah.
gonna say something to that effect, but you kind of said, that's why I had my hand up.
Yes. Okay. Well, you know,
Yeah.
Well, she lives for this stuff. I don't know what to say. You know?
It's amazing to me. I don't know where you get the energy, honestly.
Me either. But I'm
well,
thankful.
I am interested in it. It's great.
Yeah.
So,
That's great.
Classic
but
Ron.
we do have to really push it here because
Yeah.
this is the place where we need to have a month of just, you
Because the
know,
last thing we want to do is not get this done in the right time and then have to wait all the way to November of 2026.
yeah.
We don't want to do that, but we have that as a luxury if you consider that a luxury. But it's not. We want to get this done.
Yeah.
Got a lot of work to do. ahead
So
of
we
us.
can do some other stuff.
Right. Well, the only reason that I wanted to do it in March and not November is because if it's voted down for some reason,
But we have no zone.
which we
can't
hope
zone
it will not be voted down, then we
Right.
will have at least until November, and we won't have that situation we had in 2018 where the plan was out of date and we couldn't do anything, and that was a problem. So this is why we need to put this energy into it right now.
Oh, excuse me.
Other thing I wanted to mention, Rebecca is not here, but unfortunately, Ian, we're not going with the barbecue. We're going to, there are many reasons not to go with the barbecue. And we're going to just go with tea and coffee and dessert.
Great.
That's all.
Yeah.
Catered locally. We don't know how many people are coming. We have no idea. It's not good to put a vendor up for some unknown number of people. We're just going to have easy to eat things like, well, Keith is vying for pie, but you know, cookies and pastries. And we have people in Richmond who can do this, the corner market or the Richmond market, the Stones Throw coffee woman, you know. So hopefully everybody's okay with that. It's going to be a lot easier, and we'll just fund it with our own planning money. It's not that much money involved if we just have easy to eat snacks. We don't want people paying attention to the food,
Yeah.
really. They want to be paying attention to the document. So hopefully that will work.
So yeah, I mean, as those sections come through, send them out.
Yep, we'll send them out, and I'll send them to Keith
Promise to read
probably, and he can send them.
Yeah, I have a file that I'm building right now on the sections. I think you sent me 2 new ones just before
Yeah.
the meeting, and I've already populated that, so I think I'm up to 8.
Yeah, and we'll send them to the planning commissioners by email.
Yeah, I want to send them as a total package, though. I don't want to piecemeal it to you folks.
Well, I think if we're going to piecemeal them approval of them. So if they can start having them, these almost done ones, that's fine. They can
Okay.
start reading ahead. You can't read them all at once anyway, so,
No.
Right.
You know.
If we could get the sections individually in the
Yeah.
context of how the whole document's going to come together, like, you know, an outline of the document, and then you send us section 2 and section 7 in one email, and we can sort of have that. And then when it's all done and done, yeah, certainly get the whole picture again. Yeah,
But-
I can't see me reading that whole thing in like
No,
before we sit down to talk.
it's going to be much easier to just read a couple of sections, and these two that I just sent to Keith, the historic resources and the housing, were done basically by other groups who knew about these things and who we've worked on them, but they're pretty easy to read, and they haven't had as much input from the steering committee, which some of our documents have a lot of input because there have been a lot of changes, and there, you know, have been a lot of new statutes and stuff. Those two, I think, are a good entry point because they're fairly easy to read. They're quite a bit like, at least historic resources, like the 2018 plan. You should all have the 2018 plan available too to look at. So if you want to see, because they're not red lines, this is just the way it's going to appear in the new document.
Right.
If you want to look up how much is different or how much is the same, you're going to have your other one there, you know, your 2018 plan there that you can look at and say, oh yeah, I see where that comes from, or boy, that's new, or, you know.
And I do have
So-
hard copies of the 2018 plans if you guys want to just let me know. But it's also online digitally on
Yeah.
the planning and zoning website, and also under the ordinances. So just let me know if you want hard copies, because you can mark them up and it helps, but you know.
Yeah, I find it easier because you can make pencil notes in it, and, you know, we're not sending out anything but the digital new versions for right now. And one of the things that the steering committee will have to decide is, like, how many are we going to print hard copies of this? Like for November, are we going to print some hard copies? Or for town meeting, are we going to print some hard copies? How many people still read hard copies?
Yeah, that's,
I don't know if anybody has any information about that. Talk to Keith about that. I love my hard copy, but then, you know, I'm of that generation, the hard copy generation. So maybe the young people don't do anything but read online.
No, I'll probably swing by the town center at some point, grab a hard copy.
Great.
We can find out how many
When
were,
I start seeing some of those sections come through.
Yeah, and we'll be having CCRPC making the maps, so you won't have the maps right away, but the maps, many of them will be similar to the maps that are already in there. The future land use will be quite different, and that
oh yeah.
section, yeah, that section will take some reading.
And will we have the 1B overlay section
The 1B overlay is
in the
the
town?
water and sewer district.
Hard. There's no deviation from that water service.
As I understand it, is that correct, Keith?
I believe so.
Yeah. So presumably they will make that into a map, the tier 1B overlay, and it will just be the water and sewer district. So. All right, any other questions about anything? If you want to look in on our meeting on the 1st, which is replacing the planning commission, feel free, but you might not be able to get a word in edgewise, let me tell you.
Yeah.
The speaking time is all going to be used up.
Keith, are you at that one?
I will be there. Yeah, from here on out, I'm set to go.
And did I ask you, Keith, if you could come at either 5 to 7 or 6 to 8? Could we have the meeting at that time?
You know what that answer is, Virginia, of course. Gosh golly, yes.
It's your day of being here all day, so, or being there, where, you know, wherever all
But
day.
yeah, I mean, that's fine. That gets me out earlier. I'm not driving home at 10 o'clock, so.
Right, yeah. Chelsea expressed an interest in having it earlier because of the children's bedtime,
Yeah,
so.
so I mean, if that's the case, I'd come in at 10 or 11,
Right.
that day, so it's not that big of a deal. I can adjust. Highly malleable.
Yeah, great. The other thing that we're not going to have is childcare because at the presentation, 7 to 9 o'clock for a presentation is not a time you need childcare.
Right.
The children are in bed or you're at home with them and you
Probably,
can't
yeah.
come, you're not going to bring your children in their pajamas from 7 to 9 o'clock to eat cookies. So,
Feed him
Good.
soda.
yep,
Good one, Virginia.
Go to bed until 2 in the morning.
yep. All right. So if nobody has anything else to say, we could have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Mark is seconding it. And any more discussion?
Oh, sounds good.
All right.
Thank you,
If
folks.
nobody minds that, we will adjourn and we will see you all on the 15th of October
Or potentially the 1st.
or potentially the 1st if you want to come, or the 21st, so 24th if you want to look in on that meeting. That's fine too. That's next
But
week.
I can find the link for that on the website. It'll be on that cover page.
It
Yeah,
will,
it'll be on that page. We'll have to update the zoning, the Zoom page and all the other good stuff. I have to wait for Duncan on that one. And also start spoon feeding you these sections also.
yeah, we'll spoon feed you these sections, but if you go to the Town Plan 2026 Steering Committee page, we should have the agenda. We already have the agenda set, right, Keith, for that?
Yes,
We
we do.
did that today. It's not up there yet, though, but it will be.
So we were waiting to make sure that we can get October 1st, so that's the thing. Right? I mean, I don't know how many.
Well, for
town-
the 24th, we don't have to wait for that.
Oh, that's correct. Yes, we'll get
But
that posted. We'll get that
we
posted.
Try to
yes,
post it by Friday anyway. It
Yep.
will be on there and the link and everything
I
will
hear
be
you.
there. So
Okay.
groovy. All right.
Onward.
Thank you all and see you later.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Yes,
revoir.
thank
Good
you.
night.
Have a good couple of weeks. We will be beavering along, right, Ian?
Yes.
Oh,
Beavering
thank you so
along.
much.
Have a good night.
See you
Bye.
later. Bye.
Bye-bye.